Okay, we are in the chapter 2 of the talking point with Mr. Jigar Vyas. Let me just wait for him to get patched. I'm just waiting for Jigar Vyas to join in the chat and soon we will be good to go. Yes, Mr. Jigar Vyas is online. Just send him the request and maybe he will definitely accept it. Okay. We have Jigar with us. Hi Jigar.
Hi, Javid.
Yes.
I'm used to calling you Bittu, but we would stick to Javir for now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's begin. Hello and welcome, dear viewers, to the second chapter of the Talking Point, wherein I will talk with the experts representing various professions. A company, as in a private limited company or a public limited company, are the most sophisticated business organization structures. They enjoy a distinct legal identity, capable to execute the transactions under their own name. The limited liability partnerships are the modern and regulated partnerships which enjoy similar distinct identity. Any entrepreneur setting out on a course of his or her journey has to take a first step of formalizing the business. There are many such questions that arise and it will be dealt with today. For the same, I have with me Mr. Jigar Vyas, who is a partner at Jigar Vyas and Associates, company secretaries, engaged in advising on corporate secretarial matters with his immense experience with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. He is also a very active member with the Surat chapter of Institute of Company Secretaries of India. So, without much delay, let's welcome Mr. Jigar Vyas. Hello Jigar, welcome to Talking Point. It's a pleasure
Thank,
to have you live. Please tell our viewers about yourself and your firm.
thank you, Javir. It's always a pleasure to be on this side, probably. Otherwise, we are always a good listeners to this kind of talk shows, and we always appreciate people coming up to such kind of platforms and utilizing the knowledge which we have around us, basically. And
Yes.
it is indeed a pleasure to be among you all.
Thank you.
And just to brief the viewers, basically, we are a firm of company secretaries and we are dealing with the compliances and governance of companies since probably 6 years now. Apart from that, we have slowly and gradually ventured into our another domain, which includes IPR. That is
Okay,
basically intellectual property rights.
I
We
see.
cater to dealing into trademarks, copyrights, and patents of the companies, which at the current scenario are the prime goodwills of the company, basically. So we
Nice.
have our offices in Surat as well as we have started merging ourselves with another partner in Bombay as well. So
Wow,
that would
that's
be the brief.
amazing.
Yes.
Okay, that was a very nice brief introduction. Before starting, I would like to request, can you just pull yourself little behind because only your face is getting seen, and I would like viewers to see you completely and that too in good light. So can you adjust the lighting around?
Just a second. I'll do that. I'll try my best.
Please, 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 please.
Am I? 1 second.
Yeah, yeah. This is more fine. This is more fine.
Am I good now?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay.
Yes.
To start with, when I called you, you gave three different topics wherein we will be taking your deliberations. So I will be starting with the first topic, which is the digitization era in this corporate world. First question in the same for that topic will be, there is a tremendous wave of digital advancement and everyone is adopting with the new means to conduct their activities digitally. Now since companies work or interact with the entire hierarchy of the organization, that is from the lowest level employee to the executive level top director. So how are they adopting to the new normal and how they manage to comply with the laws of board meetings, annual general meetings in such scenarios?
See. What the thing is, no matter what field you are in, basically, technology is surrounded by us and it is slowly and gradually being adopted by us and touched everyone's life, basically. It is purely for our efficiency and automation. And we
Right,
professionals, us professionals, are not an exception to it. Either we
right,
adapt to it or we do not survive by it. So
perfect.
the companies which are which we cater to or which are among us, so they are governed by a body called Ministry of Corporate Affairs,
True.
which drafts the laws and provides an insight or notifications that these are the changes which we need to adopt to. Initially, what used to happen is that when a corporate tries to conduct meetings, whether it is an internal board meeting or try to deal with the shareholders, so they used to do it in a physical mode. But since the
True.
COVID scenario has come into picture, now what they are giving an option is that they have drafted a circular or notification, as they call it. Then with that notification, you can conduct the board meetings and other general meetings on a virtual platform. That is video conferencing or any other audio video mode you can opt for. So that has drastically streamlined the activities of the companies, and no matter it is an internal meeting between the governing or group heads or any other outside clientele, they try to deal it with the video conferencing mode, which acts as a valid mode in terms of compliance matters as well. Apart from that, I can say every company or a corporate, just for a brief of those who are not much familiar with the Companies Act, every
Please.
private limited company needs to have 4 board meetings in a year, and each quarter should have at least 1 board meeting. So, ministry is constantly reviving itself and giving an option whereby you can hold one board meeting within a gap of 180 days instead of 120 days that is previously drafted by the law. So slowly and gradually, these corporates are adapting to it, and you can say for us professionals also dealing with them has taken an ease. I'll give you an example. What used to happen is previously the big giants, corporate giants called Reliance or Tatas, they used to hold their general meetings for the shareholders basically because it is a public driven companies. So they
Yes.
used to have their meetings in public platform. Now, in
In
order
big
to adapt,
stadiums, I have seen it in movies also. And
yes,
because through you, I was privileged to attend one such meeting, and those were mammoth-sized meetings.
correct. So I always suggest that if you are a shareholder or genuine shareholder, you try to see how they regulate or the conduct of the meeting is done. So Reliance recently have given a notice to the shareholders that they will be conducting their board meeting on a virtual platform, and that would be on probably 14th of July.
Okay.
Imagine, imagine a shareholder strength of 3.1 billion shareholders. They have now the opportunity to get connected with the company and feel as if they are the real shareholders and they own a pie of the company. So it easily helps them connect with the company and the promoter group basically. So that way it has evolved well, and ministry is taking a supportive step to enhance the governance part as well.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. That's a very value-added information Jigar is providing to our very lovely audience and viewers here. And definitely, we are eager to see how Reliance conducts its this annual general meeting through a virtual platform. And they also launched their meeting, what you can say, application by the name of GeoMeet. So we are
Yes.
definitely eager to see that. Now, my
Yes.
next question to you is, since you mentioned that companies are directly answerable and regulated by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, which comes under the Finance Ministry,
Correct.
or through some representative office which you can throw light on. So, can you please, since the financial year 1920, that is 1 4 2019 to 31 3 2020 has ended, what will be the chronology of the compliances for them?
Okay. See, for the viewers, I'll just brief you the hierarchy or the structure how the companies work. See,
Right.
once a every company has a designated registrar of companies which manages the affairs of the company or does and checks the compliances. So, depending on the state you are registered, you will have a registered office of the company, and Gujarat has a registered office situated at Ahmedabad. So, all the
Okay.
companies that are falling under the cluster of Gujarat, registered office based in Gujarat, all the cities of Gujarat, they have to report to the ROC Ahmedabad, which is the head of Gujarat. On top of that, we have MCA and RD. Ministry of Corporate Affairs is basically the handling body or regulatory body like the RBI or SEBI, which
Right.
governs these ROCs. And certain powers which are delegated to the central government has been given to the regional directors of these particular ROCs. So, to sum it up, whatever compliances we do, they are scrutinized, checked by these ROCs. And if there are discrepancies or issues with regard to that, then scrutiny is raised beyond ROC to the ministry level, which we have to report to. Now, coming to the compliance part, I would say the compliances have increased twofold or millionfold or manyfold, you can say.
Oh,
The reason being, there you might have read it in a couple of newspapers or Economic Times or Express newspapers last year, basically, that almost 4 lakh companies were struck off. They were basically the shell companies. The reason for being struck off was that they were not filing the returns, they were not complying with the governance procedures laid down by the ministries. So, government was willing to know that if these companies are not surviving, then there is no point of them being part of the regulatory bodies. So they started issuing notices to these companies, non-functioning companies or the defaulting companies as they call it. So these companies were sent notice and gradually and slowly they were struck off. So that struck off number summed up to 4 lakh. And as of now, you can say by Jan 2020, there are like more 12 lakh active companies now. Previously, it used to be 16, 17 lakh, and most of them were shell companies. You will be surprised to know one case that I found out. Kolkata has highest number of shell companies, and there is a building, probably building comprising of almost 20, 30 offices. That
uh-huh.
20, 30 offices itself has more than 3,000 registered offices into that addresses itself. So then you can see how non-compliant or how level, what level of shell companies they incorporate basically. Not Kolkata, any company has that. So to manage and cater to these kind of non-compliances, ROC is coming out with various forms. One of them being Form INC 22A. What does that deal into? It gives a compliance that the registered office of the company is active. Basically क्या होता है कि सबको रजिस्टर ऑफिस हर एक जगह पे एक ही कॉमन दिखता है. To capable or to enable the ROC and to show them that this is the genuine factory or a registered office, you have to submit a photos of the company along with the proper office structure that this is the registered office and it is an actively going on company. So apart from that, this particular June sector, this first quarter needs INC 22A. Apart from that, there are DPT3 compliances, which deals into whether the company has loans or deposits from an outsider or third party or XYZ. Then there is KYC of the directors. Director KYC assume a good importance because some people, even though they are directors to n number of companies, they do not know exactly what is the status, what is the liability and execution of being a director. So their KYCs, directors KYC are regularly need to be updated on a year-to-year basis. So there is a form for that as well. Apart from that, regular compliances, you can say there is a form of annual return. Every time a form is required to be filed and audited by the chartered accountants. Similarly, there is a form which requires to be reported to the ROCs as well, respective ROCs. So there is a form AOC 4, MGT 7, and n number of forms. So going to that mindset, I would say we need to mind the governance in order to know the law, basically.
Yeah, you told this, right.
Yes. So these
So,
are the basic compliance that happen in the phase-wise manner. And after the AGM, the compliance period starts basically for the private companies. With regard to listed companies, you can say listed companies have to constantly report to the stock exchanges that these are the changes we keep on happening, the audited financials, unaudited financials, and so on and so forth.
oh, that's an amazing thing, a very exhaustive answer. But I could sense two, three definitions, which definitely it took me time to digest, and even our viewers might be interested in knowing about few, two, three definitions. You mentioned three things: struck off. Second is the shell companies. What are shell companies? And third,
See,
if not struck off, then what are the options available? If I am having a company, but right now my functions are not going as planned because of overall slowdown and all that. In that case, I want to save my company, but I don't want to get it struck off. Is there any way out?
yeah, definitely. See, the strike off company or the shell companies basically are governed by Section 248. It is an intricacy. Basically, 248 is with the strike off companies. So Ministry has the power that if your operations are not operative since inception for a period of 1 year, or even though you started with operations and looking to the scenarios, whether it is not in your favor or there is a COVID situation and you are non-operative or there is no revenue generation for a constant period of 2 years, then ROC will strike off your company and you have the
Okay.
option to get it strike off. So you have to file a particular form and ask for a permission to strike off the company basically.
Okay.
What happens is once supposedly you were not active or the director was not aware that there is a shell company or there is a company which is not known to them or a non-functioning company. So that particular company is struck off by the ROC. How do you revive that? So you have two alternatives. See, for the moment the company is struck off, the directors that are associated to it becomes defaulting directors. So they are nowhere directors of any existing company as well. So to revive that, one alternative would be go to High Court, file a writ petition stating that even though this particular company which I was associated to is struck off a company because we were not maintaining the compliance part. Even though you can counter the argument stating that I have been associated with functioning and regular companies. So kindly do not debar me from that. So that is the alternative. You go to High Court. Another alternative, if you feel that in the coming years your company is going to get smoothened up, revived, you have purchase orders that are going to happen, then you go to NCLT asking that kindly pardon us from these non-compliances and levy a penalty, XYZ amount, they levy it, and then they active the company. The moment they active the company, it gets revived and the directors become active again. So
Okay.
this is how the procedure handles. So you have alternative to go to High Court or you go to NCLT basically.
Nice. My next definition is about shell company. Kindly explain in brief what are this? Why these the companies are tagged shell companies?
See, shell of funds. Up have
Your voice cracked a bit. Can you repeat that?
1 second. See, shell
Yeah.
companies are basically created in order to divert funds. 1 second, I guess there is an
There are some
interruption.
interruptions.
See, yeah, I'll just brief you. Shell companies are basically companies. Am I visible?
You are visible, but audibility wise, there is some cracking.
Okay, yeah. See, shell
Yeah.
companies,
Please go ahead.
suppose there is an X company who has an N number of reserves associated to it. To withdraw the reserves, the options are very limited, or you pay dividend distribution tax or XYZ to that. So to cater to or to exempt themselves from it, they park their reserves in form of purchase or investment in other companies like XYZ. So they create a dummy shell company. They park
Okay.
their shares into that company. So that company basically does nothing but accept from shell companies are created for no reason apart from parking or diversion of funds. Their accumulated reserves basically. So
Okay.
these companies, the ROC feels that if there is no revenue generation, then there is no purpose of these companies to continue. So that is
Right.
how the shell company word is created. Shell is basically a cocoon where inside there is nothing. It is just an outer
Oh.
coating stating that it is a company structure itself. Yeah.
Okay. So, my dear viewers, please be aware not to create or not to incorporate any such shell companies and become accessory to some tax evasion tactics. Please always form a organized business structure and such a regulated structure only if you're going to conduct your business responsibly. My next
Correct.
question. The companies are they have no option but to move on to the digital platform. Now, since the company is moving to the digital platform, the connected professionals will be moving to the digital platform as well. So in
Yes.
that scenario, a company secretary is a very responsible and a very important office which a company answers to. So how did you manage and how did you move on to digitization?
See, initially, we were not so sure that this COVID situation is going to worsen for a period of 3 years at a stretch. So we were
3 months.
at the, yeah,
Three
three,
months.
3 months.
Please.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please, we want to get out of
Let's go.
it.
Let's keep it. It is 3 months. Yeah. So at the inception, we thought that it is not going to last for a longer period. So we tried to manage our work online. Basically, for a company secretary, probably you can say 80% of the activities can be done online. All the forms that which we get, all the documentation part which we get from the clients, it is to be submitted to the ROC. And ROC and ministry is on a platform online in nature. So we were lucky enough that we could handle the clients, we could handle their compliance part in a very smooth and transition manner.
No.
Whatever needs to be done, it is to be done on a digital online platform. We send the papers to them for signing and everything. They get it signed, scanned back, and then we upload the documentation part. Whatever governance it is there on a quarterly basis. So to us, you can say it was a boon rather than a negative front. So we can manage with our firms with this digital platform, and we give an option to our staff as well that you can manage from home. Then we share the data accordingly, and so we have managed the cloud basically, so which we can cater to our clients easily and smooth manner.
Wow, that's impressive that firms like Jiggers are transitioning, or you can say entering into a total digital plus work from home era.
Yes,
Now, I'm going to take up a lot of your time for my next topic, which is confusing one because it was introduced during the COVID times. So many
okay,
people were in the state of panic, or they were away from their offices, so they could not educate themselves in detail. So
correct,
Madam Sitharaman introduced companies or LLPs Fresh Start Scheme 2020.
correct.
Please elaborate. You have all the time.
Okay. See, that is a very smart move which is introduced by our Nirmala ji. See, during the COVID period, everybody was into a situation or a panic mode where they were not aware exactly what things were going to happen, how are things going to move in the corporate sector. So, to keep the corporates as well as the professionals occupied, they came up with a very smart moves with a scheme known as Companies Fresh Start Scheme.
Yeah.
Similarly, this fresh start scheme basically pertains to private limited or the limited companies basically. And there is a similar scheme called LLP settlement scheme. Both works
Okay.
parallelly only. So in this CFSS, what that is called a company fresh start scheme, all those companies who are non-compliant for n number of years, whether it is from 2000, 2005, 7, XYZ, they were unable to file their returns. Maybe the reason that they were not surviving enough or there were not enough activities or funds to pay the fees. Before this scheme, if a company wants to file their previous non-compliant returns, then the charges were the penalty that was levied was 100 rupees per day. So if you
Okay.
consider even a year non-compliance, then it would be 365 into 100 for each firm. So to keep professionals occupied and giving a golden chance for the companies to revive, they waived off all these fees with a specific non-compliant or what you call it a basic fee. That is what 300, 400, 500, depending on the capital structure of the company. So by paying that basic normal fees, you can activate your company. There were situations where companies were active, but not having a company secretary was their problem that they could not have a CS into it, and because of that, they were dealt with the status of active non-compliant companies. So to make the non-compliant company active, they have these option of fresh start scheme. This fresh start scheme basically covers as many as 64 firms for which penalty is waived basically. And now recently a week back, even those companies which has their charge open, suppose there is a loan or outstanding pending and hypothecation and everything is done on that company, but they could not file it for XYZ reason. So for that also penalty is in percentage. It is ad valorem basis. So these all penalties have been gradually waived looking into current situations. And ministry also wants that the promoters or the group deal in a professional and a governance manner. They want transparency towards the shareholders, transparency towards the investors as well. So the more the company remains active, the more beneficial it is for the government as well. Yes. So this is how the company's fresh start scheme came into picture. And similarly, there is a LLP settlement scheme where non-functioning LLPs have the chance to revive or you can activate the companies. You can go
Right.
to, suppose there are clients who are currently struck off and now their companies want to revive. They go to NCLT, pay the penalties, and then what the NCLT orders is that you file the returns of XYZ years. So if you have the option, you exercise that now so that you can file the non-compliant forms for X years in this period. So this period is basically from 1st April to 30th of September. See, all the companies have the option till 30th September to file their returns without any XYZ penalties. So I would suggest that companies, corporates take into consideration these things, consult their professionals, and get it away with, basically.
Wow.
Yes.
I urge all my viewers that if they are directors or owners or promoters or stakeholders in any company or a body corporate or an LLP, then please take the benefit of this scheme, which is filled with lots of waivers involved, and they are doing away with 64, as many as 64 forms. So please get your consultants and get this compliance done with. So that was a very detailed explanation of the CFSS scheme. Moving on to the last leg of our discussion is when I called you, you mentioned that, Jaivir, this is the right time for any firm to scale up their activities and get into a more formalized structure. What did you mean by that?
See, first of all, the booming startups or the generations which have recently come up with this structured model, they do not know what is LLP, what is private limited or partnership firm or XYZ structure. So, sorry, to give a brief idea to them, private limited company is something which gives an example of a separate legal entity. It gives an option of separate legal entity wherein the company and the shareholders have a separate liability. What used to happen in partnership firms on the initial phase when these were not rolled out, that partnership partners who are into partnership firms, they have unlimited liability. The liability is not restricted to what they are contributing. So in case of any discrepancy or non-compliance or bank dues outstanding, they were personally liable of their assets as well. Apart from, on contrast to that, if there is a private limited company, you can take the advantage of separate legal entity wherein if for a XYZ reason you are unable to make good the compliances or there are dues outstanding for the banks, then you are not personally liable. Your liability shall be restricted only to what you have contributed. So if your authorized capital or paid up capital is suppose 10 lakhs divided by 2 shareholders of 5 lakh each. So your liability is only restricted to what is 5 lakh, your contribution towards your company. You cannot be held personally liable until unless there is a proven fact or it is proved that there is a fraud with the company happening. So, depending on what is your requirement, you should deal with it. If suppose you are okay with the existing partnership firm, but you want a body corporate as a structure, then you switch over to LLPs. LLP gives the same advantage with the same act. LLP is governed by the Partnership Act as well. So the structure remains the same, but you have a tagline of a body corporate. How beneficial it is, the banks considered LLPs as a stronger platform to raise funds or to give funds, basically. So if you have a structure where you want to keep partners into picture and you have more than 20 partners into an entity, or you bring up or merge a group, then you can form an LLP. So you have the option of being a designated partner to it or a normal partner like just a subscriber to it or a fundraiser. So these options enable you to have a structure where you can scale up yourself. Similarly, if you have a goal in future that currently we are a startup, but we want people to infuse funds into us, whether it is a private equity or angel investors. So these angel investors take into consideration structured forms only and only. So if you want an investor to come into your company, then you need to have a private limited structure wherein you give a percentage of shares on what contribution is getting into your company. So these things enable you to scale up basically. Right now, nobody is having that excess amount of funds where you can park it so easily. But if you give them a transparency or a platform into corporate structures, basically, see, the balance sheet of Reliance is. Sorry,
your voice little cracked in between.
Okay, so when you want to know the balance sheet of Reliance, you can easily go through it by the
Yes,
website of Master Data. So
right,
these give them a security. The lenders and the investors have a security. Yes, this is a company which is existing and which is available on the public platform. So when you try to scale up your business, you see to it that you go to a private limited company or a limited company, depending on what requirements you have. Plus,
right,
startup schemes are such that they want that your company should be an LLP or private limited. So these are all the benefits you can reap out of it. Plus, private limited can be found with no capital as well. Plus, there are certain advantages of LLP, XYZ, other as well. So they enjoy a credit worthiness basically. So
right.
in order to encash that, it is always feasible to go for a structure. But yes, by going for the structure, you should see to it that there are no non-compliance. Non-compliance is okay, but not following the compliance part and paying the penalty is n number. So there is a numerous extent where you have to pay the fees. The cost of compliance, you can say, is very less compared to the cost of non-compliance.
Right.
And some people have the feeling that no यार प्राइवेट लिमिटेड बनाऊंगा तो मुझे इतना इतना डेटा मेंटेन करना पड़ेगा, इतना कंप्लायंस करना पड़ेगा, फॉर्म फाइल करने पड़ेंगे, प्रोफेशनल्स को फीस देनी पड़ेगी, इससे अच्छा हमारा पूरा वो लालाजी वाला बिजनेस अच्छा है जिसमें ज्यादा कुछ मेंटेन नहीं करना होता है. But there is always a drawback to that. I mean, the more you show or the more you govern the structured businesses, the more beneficial it is to the outsider as well. So people would always prefer that no, go for a structured form. Yes.
Wow, that was very in depth, and definitely scaling up was explained in such a simplified manner by our very own company secretary Jigar Vyas. So, my viewers who are potential startups or young entrepreneurs who want to invite some good amount of investment through banks, through private equities, through foreign investment or something like that, then definitely LLPs and beyond that private limiteds are your future organization which you have to look for. Further, he mentioned two, three things that you have to have a discipline. That is for sure. You have to have a discipline of hiring a consultant who knows the nitty-gritties of maintaining a LLP or a company. Then you should have the transparency of usage of your funds and then application and incomes and everything. You should also have a clear goal. You should not just open a company. Like he said in one of my telephonic conversation, that all the founders of company always desire to change the world and not to make a quick money out of it. So this way, definitely you should have that foresight and a dream, or you can say an ambition before you, that I am going to open this company and I am going to make it a great success out of it. So that was very well said by Mr. Jigar Vyas, and we had tremendous amount of in-depth critical knowledge about how the corporates and the regulated partnerships work. So that was Jigar Vyas with us. Jigar, would you would like to say some in your ending remarks?
Uh, 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 I would suggest to the budding professionals, basically, or who are into a field where they will be a chartered accountants, they will be company secretaries. I want them to be, I mean, they should be aware of the scope what they have it right now. Basically, people have an mindset that commerce has only chartered accountants. Commerce has nothing else. So apart from
Right,
that, you should open up your mindset with the concept that there are company secretaries, there are lawyers, or there are other professional degrees which you should think about it. Or dual degree is always a good platform. I mean, CA with CS or everything. People have come up with the concept of NCLTs. The ministry or the regulatory bodies have NCLT concept. So now company secretary is also not restricted to certification work or any other XYZ work. They are scaling themselves to NCLTs because initially the concept was the NCLT was introduced for the lenders basically or the borrowers, those who are unable to pay the dues, the bank or the creditors, whether it is an operational or secured creditors or XYZ creditors. If you have any dues towards a company which is exceeding 1 lakh rupees, then you go to that NCLT. NCLT provides you a structure that how you can revive that or get back your funds. Even though the
right,
limit 1 lakh has increased to 1 CR, but these are all the avenues that help the budding professionals to look into it. I mean, you can represent yourself among the lawyers as well. That yes, we are capable enough to deal with such matters. We are a good bearers of corporates, basically. Yes.
Wow. So on that note, I would like to end this wonderful deliberation, though I don't want to personally, but we have paucity of time and even Jigar has his professional commitments to take care of. So with this note, I would like to end this wonderful interaction. See you next Saturday with one more professional giving his detailed insight out of his experience and out of his knowledge. So thank you viewers for being an exceptional audience. Bye Jigar. I take
Bye
your
bye.
leave.
Thank you. Keep up your good work, and we are always there to back it up. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you so
thank you,
much for
thank you.
being always there. Yeah.
Thank you, boss.